Good afternoon YouTube and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video I'm going to be teaching you guys how to manual. We are going to be learning how to simply lift the front wheel off the ground. We are going to be learning how to manual for a long time with good control, and we're also going to be learning the best places to use the manual when you're out riding. As you can see from those clips, the manual is one of the most fun tricks that you can learn. Not only does it look sick, but in my opinion, it's one of the most important tricks that you can learn on a bike, along with the track stand. It just offers you great bike control, it gives you good balance, and it comes in so handy when you're riding. There's so many places that you'll find that you will use the manual. The first thing we need to do when learning the manual is learn how to lift the front wheel off the ground. Now a lot of people struggle with this, but I'm going to break it down and make it really simple for you. Before you get yourself set, you need to find yourself a nice open car park space where you're not going to hit anything, you're not in danger of getting hit by anything. And then before you set off, you want to make sure, as always, that your rear brake is covered with your finger, because that's what's going to stop you flipping yourself onto your back. Your gearing doesn't really matter for a manual because you don't really use the pedals, you only use it to get some speed, so a medium gear is fine. Your seat height is quite important because a lot of people, I read some comments online, a lot of people want to do manuals with a seat up, which you can do. It's not impossible, it just makes it harder because it's in the way. And lastly, if you're running clips, then again, it's not impossible without clips, but when you're learning you might need to take your feet off quick, so I would recommend for learning to use flats, but clips are fine once you've got it dialed. Now you're cruising along at a medium speed, which is comfortable, your fingers covering that rear brake of course, don't forget that. You're going to load the front of your bike up with body weight, so you're going to compress your arc, you're going to bend your elbows, put some weight on the forks, and then in one smooth motion you're going to transfer all your body weight back towards the rear axle whilst pushing your feet into the ground. So you're putting like a downward backward motion, aiming to get your bum as close to the rear axle as possible. It's a long way back and takes quite a lot of confidence, but that's exactly where you need to be. And crucially, I'm going to say it again, finger on that rear brake, because if you do that process correctly, the front of the bike is going to fly up, and that is what's going to stop you landing flat on your back. When transferring your body weight back, try to keep your arms and your back straight. What I mean by that is don't lift the bike up with your upper body. The lift is all done by leaning back and pushing into the ground. A common mistake that people try to do is they lean forward and try lifting the bike up with their arms or with their back, and that's just not going to get you anywhere, it just doesn't work. A simple way of picturing the technique for lifting the front wheel off the ground is to imagine that you've been at work all day, you've had the hardest day, your boss has had a go at you, whatever, and you come home and all you want to do is chill out and kick back on the sofa. So what do? You throw yourself back into it. It's exactly the same for lifting the bike into a manual. Imagine that you're going onto your sofa but aiming for the rear axle instead, so you throw your weight back towards the rear axle and just slump yourself into that chair. Another way you can picture it is having your head up instead of down, so when you go from loaded at the front, you put your head up and look up. I think if you look down, then you're probably just going to do that, which isn't going to get you anywhere. As you can imagine, and obviously, it's really important to get this bit dialed before you move on to keeping the bike up on the back wheel. A lot of people suffer with confidence, or they're scared to lean back, which I completely understand, and that's all part of learning, but it's not going to help you to manual because you need to have your weight back. If you're one of them guys, what you can do is practice flipping the bike on purpose and landing on your feet, because then you're going to know exactly where the limit is, and then you won't be scared to go back too far. So just safely practice bailing off the back basically, and I think that should help. 6, so you can now lift the front wheel up confidently and you've got that dialed. You're now ready to move on and hold that manual for as long as you want. Go up objects, down objects, around, over, basically wherever you want. Bear in mind, if you're riding a full suspension bike, it's going to be a little harder to control it because every little movement you do to correct the bike, the suspension is going to take that out of it, so just bear that in mind. Find yourself a smooth gradient preferably, because it's going to help you carry speed for the manual, and smooth is important because any little bumps while you're on the back wheel really affect the balance and make it impossible to learn on. Alternatively, if you can't find a hill or a gradient, then a car park will do. You're just going to have to put a bit of work in pedalling to get your speed so you carry some momentum. And most importantly, I keep saying it, but that rear brake needs to be covered. Controlling a manual is basically a combination between controlling the bike with your body weight and feathering the rear brake. Those of you that don't know what feathering the rear brake is when you pull it hard enough to stop you falling off the back of the bike, but gently enough so that it doesn't just slam the front wheel down. It's a compromise. The other way you control it, side to side, is with your knees and with the handlebars. To start things off, go along at a medium to fast pace. Lift the front wheel exactly as we did in the last step, so weight forward, throw it back, push your feet down and aim for that rear axle. Only this time, instead of just slamming the brake on and bringing it down, try and pull it gently whilst keeping your weight back, of course. What you'll find is if you just sit in this position, then you will be able to keep it on the back wheel for a little bit, for a short while, but you will eventually run out of speed. That's because you're just hanging off the brake. But what that will teach you is how to feather the brake and how to get good control and feeling through that rear brake. This is quite an important step. Now that you've got some confidence, you're getting control, you're learning the feeling of the rear brake, it's time to find that balancing point, maintain some speed and manual for as far as you want to go. What you're going to do different to the previous step is you're going to be far off the back but not as far as you was. What this allows you to do is control the bike without just hanging off the rear brake, which is where you're going to carry your speed. If the bike's going to drop, then you're going to extend your legs and that will push your weight back, so hopefully lift the bike up, which will then, if it comes too high, you're going to pull the rear brake and you're going to cramp up into a ball. This combination between the two, they're quite extreme examples. Just little movements like that is what's going to keep the bike on the back wheel. Now I've told you that, it's just a case of trial and error. You've got to go out there, you've got to try it. It could take you 10 minutes to learn, it could take you 6 months, but it's definitely going to be worth it. Quick tip that you can all go and do, I'd recommend everyone to try this because it really does help, is to get your bike into the position that mine is on the screen now. What that's going to do is that is going to resemble the feeling of the balance point in a manual. You can feel that you're feathering the brake and you just work the bike, just push it, move it about, and then you can feel how the bike will balance. It's a very similar feeling to what it's actually like on the rear wheel, which means when you do start learning and get it onto the back wheel for the first time, you're going to have some familiarisation of what it's going to feel like. And there we have it. If you go and do all them steps which I've just told you, then you're going to have the manual dialed, and you're going to now need step number 3, which is the best places to use the manual and where it's going to come in handy for your riding. It can be used to go over small objects such as a curb or a log. It can be used for going through thick puddles or mud. You can use it to hit tiny jumps so you don't nosedive. Come in so handy with the pump track because you can use it to manual rollers, long straights, tabletop jumps, doubles, basically anything. Just learning to lift the front wheel is handy if you want to do drop-offs or you want to drop downstairs, for example. You can then progress it to learn hop-up manuals, which comes in handy when riding street. Linking street lines together, a manual is the one. It's just so good, I love doing that. I hope that you found this video beneficial. If you've got any further questions, then put them in the comments. Also, let me know what other tricks you'd like to learn. The reason I made this is because after my manual challenge and prior to that, I'd had quite a lot of requests about doing a video like this. So get in touch, let us know what you want to see, give us a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you guys in the next video.